So I do a song that is not mine.
In a different style than it was
Yeah,
originally recorded.
it's a Jimmy Fallon thing.
Have you written a song before?
So it would be like they did one that was like I Can't Feel My Face in the style of like Frank Sinatra 1920s.
I can't feel my face when I'm with you.
Dude, that would be fun. We should just make another
But
podcast right now.
But I love it. All right.
That's really good.
Clap sync?
Are we ready?
I think we're ready. I think
Yes,
we're ready.
we recorded that. I have that wonderful content to make my ringtone.
Welcome, everybody, to the Hear This podcast. So excited to have you join us today. Nice haircut. I'm here with Tony Lyon.
Yeah, who are you?
I am Tyson Gussman.
Excellent. I'm
Thank
Tony.
you. Tony.
So nice to
meet
have you around, Tyson. Oh, Tyson.
Oh, boy. Wow, we're just having such a good time out here.
Tyson, what's up with you this week?
Yeah, but then I went to Jump Creek for the first time on Saturday.
Oh, my gosh.
Which was really good.
Was it amazing?
It was fantastic.
Did you get poison ivy?
I did not. What? Yeah, me and a couple friends went up to Jump Creek. I'd never been there. We ended up taking a wrong turn and going into Oregon. I didn't know any better.
Okay, that's a big wrong
I'm
turn.
well, yeah, and like
a
I'm in the
long
back
turn.
seat. Yeah, I'm in the back seat, so I'm just like I'm observing, and then everybody else in the car knows what they're doing. But then somehow it's like it's all of our fault when it's like, oh man, we all missed the turn. And I'm like, I don't say all. That's a strong word. But we ended up at Jump Creek. It's very fun. If you've never been, I climbed, but I didn't like the idea of jumping in, and so I climbed all the way back down. And then when I got to like surface level, fell.
No.
I got to like my feet were like at the water level, and then my hand slipped off and I fell back.
Did you break yourself?
No, I was fine.
Okay.
Is that why you have aches and pains when you wake up, or like you have the thought of aches and pains?
That's a great question. I think that my clumsiness in general is probably a big part of it. I do fall down a lot. That's always been that. I had a PE teacher in elementary school who wrote on my report card, I think he likes to fall down.
Oh, no.
Grade, falls down too much.
Bless your heart.
Yeah. Tony, how have you been?
Good. It's been a rough week.
Yeah.
TBH. My dog is ill, and so it's been a bummer. Like, the vet comes out, and we thought we were going to have to put her down yesterday. Thanks for being a pal, Tyson.
Absolutely, Tony.
Yesterday.
There for you.
We didn't. She's still alive and kicking, but always a hard time with pets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, other than that, it's been fine, though, but
we also have with us today Morgan the Machine Schuster.
if you couldn't tell from, like, the sounds of his voices, Morgan has a very distinct voice. Like,
He
I
does.
always know when
That's what
you're
people have always
around.
said, but I've always tried to be like a very generic
But your voice
person.
isn't generic.
I just want to be.
I just want to be
I just
exactly
want
like
to
every other
sound like everyone else.
You have, like, a musicality to your voice, and so
That's
it,
a
like,
great way
goes
of
up
describing
and
it.
down, and, like, the tones. It's
You know what's
awesome.
funny? So somebody, like, I had a art teacher or like a theater teacher tell me, they're like, you need to be in a play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's awesome. Like, I would love to do that. I was so nervous, and I was so I can't be around a bunch of people. I can't have people like whatever. And they were like, okay, we'll give you the least amount of lines. And so the play was The Princess Bride, and I
what?
played Fezzik,
No, you did
the
not.
lovable giant. And the person who played Wesley and like everybody else
was bigger than
was
you?
way taller than me and way larger than me. And so it was like, there's a picture of me.
Casting.
There was a picture of me, and I look nothing and act nothing like Fezzik. And I'm saying these
Oh
lines
my.
in trying to sound
Did they
like this.
Did they attempt to, like...
You wear platform
Like
shoes?
change the character in any so
No,
so I was wearing okay yes
Stilts?
so this is what happened. So the guy who again played Wesley, and there's like that point in the movie where you're like throwing Wesley up over you and like
Sure, yeah.
you have to carry him. Well, this dude was like 6'2" and could grow a beard at 14. And so here I am, I'm like, guys, we got to do something here. And so we got this like inflatable suit.
Oh, no.
And we got like a triple XL shirt from Goodwill.
kidding me.
And I was wearing like a pair of slacks and this shirt and the back blown up. And so in the picture, it's just a very large me with a bowl haircut standing next to this very obviously taller person. And that was and has anybody got a peanut? That was like my favorite part of that. And I tried to keep it like that, but it was.
Dude, I almost just spit coffee out of my
Oh
mouth.
my
when you were
God.
telling
That
this
was
story.
this was, yeah, it was a good time.
Wow.
I didn't.
Podcast over. Stories of
Yeah,
discomfort.
I think it
We've
was one of
covered
those
it.
things
That's
where
it,
like
everybody.
my grandparents were in the audience. I could see them in the front row,
Yeah.
and they had the camera out, and they went, "Oh,
Oh,
maybe
no.
not. Maybe next time." So
Okay. Okay, yes, but I figure, people probably have seen you around, but just to get to know you a little bit. It's my understanding we've done this question before on the podcast.
But it's good. It's like a true like, who are you?
Yes, and it's
sort of
also a question that
question.
I haven't answered, which makes it very important for us to talk about.
Also, I have a
Yes.
new answer, so you can ask me.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Tony.
So we're gonna talk about pet peeves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tony,
Ooh.
what is your new pet peeve?
Oh no, I just forgot it.
Okay.
Like for reals.
Morgan.
Do you know how that happens?
That's one of my pet peeves. Is people saying that they have something.
Yeah,
and
my
I'm
pet peeve is
I
lying.
thought of something and I was really proud, and then it just fled my mind.
Okay, Morgan.
I think like work. I think a pet peeve of mine is when people.
It's just work.
Well, and this is like just in general, when people like make something, say a sandwich, or in my case, they make coffee, and they're in a hurry and they've got plenty of time to clean, but they don't, and they leave it for the next person. And so I say this like not saying like, oh, it's the worst thing in the world, because I'm sure I've done it all the time. But like, for instance, like I had a friend of mine that I lived with who will remain nameless. And they would always leave like food and dishes and stuff. And I told them very nicely, hey, I don't have a lot of pet peeves. I started like a lot of my conversations start like this. Hey, I don't have a lot of pet peeves, but like, can
But
you just
you're one
clean
of them.
up? Yeah, but you're one of them. Can you just please clean that up?
Hey,
So, like,
I just I would really appreciate it if you didn't try and grow new things in the sink.
Right,
if You
right.
didn't try and create new life. That
so
would
I
be-
said to him, hey, I don't have a lot of pet peeves, but I'm moving out. So no.
Tony, did you remember yours yet?
I did.
Okay, what is it?
It's needy people.
Ooh.
Needy people.
Uh huh.
I can relate to this. Keep going.
I can't
Tell
stand
me.
it.
Tell me more.
Like people who can't take a hint that like I don't know, that you just like kind of socially, if you try to distance and like walk away and they'll just like follow you around. I can't stand it. It's honestly one of my favorite things about Adam is that he was not if you guys know Adam, not a
Yeah,
needy
he doesn't even
or
like me.
clingy.
I think he looked at me one time and then he went. And he, like,
It's fine.
walked away.
He did
Yeah.
not need me at all. The problem with pet peeves is that I feel like we could talk about it forever.
45 minutes later.
Yes.
Well, it's because I don't have a lot of pet peeves, but then once I say that, I realize
Open
there's
up the
something
floodgates.
inside of me that's like, well, I really don't like that.
Number one pet peeve: windshield wipers on a dry windshield.
Oh, no.
I cannot do it.
Oh no, please don't ever ride in a car with me then.
Yeah. No, because here's the thing. My philosophy while driving is what you need to see out the windshield is colors and shapes. That's it. So I let rain just kind of build until I know I'm just going to get a good clean sweep when I turn those.
Yeah.
So, Morgan,
Yes.
I have known you for 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that.
Yeah, about 2.5.
Yeah.
Almost 3.
Because you came in second semester of my freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we got to know each other then. That was really cool.
Since
I also,
the beginning, almost
Yes.
since the half beginning.
Oh, man, that was, yeah, we were in Minsk together.
It's a long time, dude.
But I also know you because your dad. I work with your dad.
Mhm.
Cool guy. But how did you? So you came in the second semester of my freshman year. How did
Mhm.
you end up at NNU? Was it through being here? Your dad's a Nazarene pastor
Yeah.
now.
So I like grew up in the church. I grew up here, well, in Nampa, and then I like visited NNU for like forever because I went to Idaho Arts Charter School and up until about the 7th grade, and then like we'd go there all the time for like plays or field trips. Which it's really funny that like you go to a like university for a field trip. I don't know if that's marketing or if
It's
that's just
because
like
it's
we
free.
were right.
Yeah.
Like honestly, it's
Is
because
it?
it's free.
Yeah. Well, and we were like a pretty new charter school, so I'm sure anything free is like hey, can you take 150 kids and just do something with them for a couple hours?
Speaking of which, the next Brown Bag Thursday will be a trip to NA. I'm just kidding.
Hey, give me there. Anything for free lunch, dude. I'm so down. But yeah, so I'd been around NNU, like I knew what it was, but I like in the 4th grade, I knew I wasn't going to college. That was like my dream, was to not go to college.
Wait,
go to college.
Wait, I've heard part of this before. Wasn't it to like you wanted to live in a van? Just
So
like live in a van.
I had a ton of friends who were ski bums or who they would like their life goal was to raft until they were 80 and then get swallowed up by a river. But yeah, so like I just like I thought the peak of life was just to get paid to hang out and be in a van and be a nice person and like that was cool. Like but something always like fought that in me too, and that like I liked to work and I liked to be a part of things and I liked to have projects. And so like I think there was a part of me that like really liked that lifestyle, but also I wanted to do stuff. I wanted to be a part of things. I wanted community, and I'd grown up in the church, and so community was always a big part of things. And so like NNU was kind of always in the background. But when I was 15, I moved to Tennessee.
Country roads.
Yes. This is how they entered me into this podcast, was singing that. And I thought that we were singing that the whole time, or that was,
that's what this
that
podcast
was the
The whole
podcast.
podcast
We just
to the tune of Country Roads. Morgan Schuster. Okay.
I wanted to be a ski
Moved to
bum. Yeah.
Tennessee.
That's good. I like that. That should be the intro to every.
Okay, so 15. You
So
moved to
15,
Tennessee.
moved to Tennessee. Being a ski bum in Tennessee is not really possible. I'm sure I could in the Smoky Mountains.
I was gonna say,
there
there's
was
some
enough.
mountains around there.
There was enough like. There were some like bunny hills and stuff like that. And like, I would go to North Carolina to go skiing and stuff like that. That was fun.
Did you ever go to West Virginia?
No.
Mountain Mama?
I didn't. I went to a country road though.
Oh.
Yeah, but there was no Mountain Mama
That's
or
too
anything like that. I just, in the back of my head again, was like, even though I've changed my scenery, I just wanted to go back to Idaho because Tennessee was so different. And I loved the Northwest, and I had so many really close friends here. And I really, really did picture myself, even if I wasn't living in a van full time, being here in Idaho. Like, I loved it. Like, I always had friends growing up in school. We can't wait to get out of Idaho. I can't wait to get out of here in the big city and make fame and all this stuff. And I was like, I just can't wait to get back to Idaho. But I was 15, and I'm, you're not really the one that makes all those decisions. And so I was really kind of angry with my family and with, I would say I was angry with God at the time too, because it was just like, well, I don't have control over this. And this is something that I just kind of have to buck up and have a good attitude about, or I'm going to have a really bummer time here. Yeah. And so I tried to make the best of it. And I made some super rad friends. I got really into music, which was awesome. I worked at a coffee shop there. That was super fun. And I gave up the whole van life thing. I drove a van though. I drove my parents' van, which I later inherited.
Nice.
But we'll talk about that later in my in my story. But yeah, so I was in Tennessee. I actually went to Trevecca a couple times when I was looking at, when we were starting to talk about graduation, all that stuff, talk about future plans. And Trevecca came up, and I was like looking into that. And every time that came up, I just thought again, man, I think I would go to Idaho. Like, I think I would just want to go back to that area, the Northwest. All my family's, still there, except for my, mom and dad and sisters, but all my friends were still there. And so I was like, that's my plan. I'm going to go back to Idaho. So fast forward a little bit. My parents ended up kind of wanting to go back to Idaho too. So we ended up, when I was 18, I just graduated, moving back to Idaho. So that was a crazy transition, and also one that was just like, it was almost like that thing where you get what you want finally. Like, oh, I've wanted this my whole life. This is like, I want to be back. This is the thing. It's going to make my life happier and better. And then when I got there, I saw my friends, started hanging out. It was so awesome to be back with them. but I felt like I didn't have like a driving force. There wasn't like a purpose behind what I was doing. I was just back in that mentality of now I get to be in a van and, did it. And so I guess it wasn't that fast of a forward, but my parents basically gave me their Ford Windstar van to kind of like,
Nice.
because I didn't have
To live in.
Well, I didn't have a ton of money, and I didn't have a job lined up, and I didn't really have we had sold my car when we were moving because it was this like little 87 Nissan Sentra.
Nice.
And I really did not know how to drive manual very well. And so like, it just was like, my parents were like, we can get rid of it. I was like, okay, sweet. It's not a big
Great.
deal.
Probably better for everybody
Yeah.
involved.
I won't explode and die sometime later down the road. But so I inherited this van. I was kind of doing my thing. I was living off what money I had saved up at this coffee shop in Tennessee, which was literally like $1,000. And I told myself I was gonna make my way in life until like living off of that $1,000 in this van. And that was my goal. And that did not last very long, especially when I didn't inherit any like saving abilities or any of that kind of thing, or like, what am I going to invest in at 18 years old living out of a silver van?
You didn't put your $1,000 in a 401k.
No, I should have though. If you think about that, I probably would have had $1,200 by now.
Wow.
I don't know how much. I still don't know how investing works. So please don't
Lock it up.
Yeah,
kids.
don't give me anything like that. Don't trust me with that stuff. Yeah, but so I'm in this place where I thought was going to make my life better, it was going to make me happier, and I still just there was something there that I was doing what I wanted to do, but I was still so uncomfortable, and I was so just like, what is my purpose? Am I supposed to just go have a good time? Am I supposed to just be a nice person? What does that look like? And I'd fallen away from going to church, and I felt like I didn't have like that anymore. Like it was just like I wasn't a part of it. It wasn't really anything that I was, I wasn't reading into it. I wasn't like praying or doing anything like that. And so I was just like in this weird place and just like
kind of floating.
Yeah, just kind of floating in my Ford Silver Windstar van until I was driving by a Dutch Bros stand, and I lived it with this family in Eagle who at the time they had like graciously given me a room and said, whatever you can pay, basically, like you can stay here. And the deal was that I do that, and I like also paint the room because they were wanting to make it like livable for missionary families when they were like coming. And so it was a super rad deal.
Cool.
So I was like, heck yeah, I'll do that. And so I ended up staying there for like almost 3 years.
Wow.
But here's like the most important question.
Yeah.
What color did you paint it?
Yeah.
So,
Oh no.
so, and this is a fun, and the Turners, if you're watching, I love you guys very dearly, and you housed me and you took care of me. And I didn't paint that room for 3 years.
Oh no.
I'm
You
I
never
thought you were
painted
about
it?
to
And
slam
I'm
them
so-
for
Like,
Paint
how
so
dare you choose gray?
sorry. No, they gave me everything. They gave me the paint. They gave me the rollers. They said, hey, can you do this for us? And I said, yeah, sure. And I didn't do it for a long time. So
But did you eventually do it?
yeah, when I moved out 3 years later almost. And they go, hey, by the way, it's been how long now? We need to do it.
And then you were
Mhm.
driving past the Dutch Bros.
Okay, so they lived in Eagle, and so I was driving, and I'd seen this lonely stand, and it was getting dark, and it was this little tiny glowing thing in this field. There was nothing else around. I was like, what could this possibly be? And so I drive through there, and immediately this person's like, what's up, dude? I'm like, it's 9:30 in the evening. Like, what are you so stoked about?
What's wrong with
Yeah,
you, sir?
yeah. And they were like, dude, what's up? You want a caramelizer? I'm just mimicking any of like people that
Every
bring up Dutch Bros.
employee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You work at Dutch Bros? But so anyways, this person was like so nice and so rad. And as much as I made fun of that, they were like the most genuine person ever. And they were like, dude, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm going home and I'm just kind of hanging out. And they like asked me like legit, like, what are you doing? Like what's going on? And when they asked me that, I was like, oh, not a whole lot. Like, I kind of like, they probably weren't asking me like for my whole life story, but I was like, I'm really not doing a whole lot right now. And they said, dude, you got to come to our interviews tomorrow.
What? They did not.
I'm not joking. They're like, we're hiring. You got to come because you seem like you'd be super rad at this job.
Holy
because I
vessel.
also, when I came up to the window, was like, what's up, dude? No, I really
Wow.
didn't. I was like, hey. It could have been.
I don't know which side
I'm
of the
not a
story
good
to
judge
believe.
of
I
myself.
really think that you must have either sold yourself or God just took that person over and was just like, you need to tell this guy
Yeah,
to get a job.
it could have been. And
Well, for a sec, okay. So
Yeah.
it's totally like one of those Jesus moments where Jesus is just like hanging out with people and he like looks at somebody. He's like, where's your husband at? You know, just like asking the most innocuous question or
Totally.
whatever, but then it's like 75 layers deep of like
Right.
moral transformation. Somebody literally just asked you,
absolutely.
what are you doing?
Well, it's funny because
Wow.
you say that, and that's why we talk to people the way that we do, and why we try to have like that. Like if you're speaking like authentically, people know. Like people, like
Yeah.
even especially kids. Like I see that all the time in teenagers. Like they know when you're being genuine about something and when you're not,
Absolutely, yeah.
or when you're uncomfortable, or when like.
Yeah.
It's like that one, there's like I don't know if you can talk about it, but John Mulaney bit where he talks about like 8th graders and how they're the scariest people in the world
For
because
sure,
they
for
can
sure.
like see you from a mile away and be like,
Ha,
oh,
ha,
yeah,
ha,
ha, ha. That guy's got
Look at
feminine
that
hips.
high-waisted
Yeah.
man. He got feminine hips. Yes. So you went to the interviews.
Yeah, so I did. I went to the interviews, and there were 20 other people, and we were all in this little tiny room. And they told us outright, we're only hiring 3 people.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting across from this one dude who's talking about skydiving like once a week and how he's like he fly fishes in the Amazon. And I was like, how am I, a dude living off of like 3 shirts in his mom and dad's
And they're all
silver,
purple.
yeah, their silver Ford Windstar van? Like, how am I possibly going to amount to this? Like, these guys are so cool. They're so rad. Like, what do I possibly have to offer?
Yeah.
Except for this one person telling me I should show up for this interview. And anyway, so I go through the interview, and there was literally like 13 people like shoved onto a table like that. And I got there, and I'm just like, hey, they're like, tell us about yourself. And I was like, oh, I'm Morgan. I'm living in a van. They said, what's your favorite movie? And I said, oh, it's Saving Private Ryan. And they were like, oh, that's cool. Tell us about that. And so I told them about it, and I said why it was my favorite movie. And afterwards, I was like, that had to have been the worst interview of all time. Like, this dude comes in, like, all disheveled, wearing all purple, and they go, what's your favorite movie, dude? And he goes, I don't know. It's Saving Private Ryan. Yeah, get him out of here. But no, anyways, so I go to lunch with my family right after that, and I get this call, and they say, hey, when can you start? I'm like,
Whoa.
what? I'm like,
Yeah.
they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing.
There's that question again.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything.
Wow.
They're like, let's start you tomorrow. We'll train you. And so I got hired with 2 other people,
Wow.
one really, really tall guy, and one gal who she had like flashcards for training, and she was really into the flashcards, and she would try to quiz us and like do all this stuff, and I was like, I don't need flashcards, I got this. And I don't think I passed the first time on my thing.
Oh, no.
So she gracefully let me, have some of the flashcards. And fun fact, that person was my now wife.
Wow.
Crazy, right? Thanks, babe, for the flashcards. It really did help.
That's wild. So,
Yeah.
okay. So when does NNU step into the picture here?
So anyways, Dutch Bros, all this stuff, I, go down the line, and I thought that Dutch Bros, that was going to be my calling. Like, that was what I wanted to do because it was full of like authentic people. It was super rad.
Found some drive.
Found some drive. Right. And then it started to just kind of like, it was just that. It was just me showing up for work, doing that. And I just kept feeling that feeling of like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, what am I It's just such a weird, like, I'm in a good place, but I'm not, like, I don't know what that means. Like, I need a purpose. And I remember somebody telling me, like, and I think it was my dad, because he gave me a book, and he's like, dude, I've been there before. I totally understand that. Like, you got to read this book. And it was, and I've talked about it before, but I love this book. It's like, it's pretty short, but the title is the longest thing. It's If You Want to Walk on Water, You Got to Get Out of the Boat. And it was talking about getting out of your comfort zone, and that there isn't just one plan that you've got to like. That's the thing. If you don't follow that plan, it's not going to, it's not going to happen. Like your life's not going to happen. Like it talked about God has all these doors open for us and you just have to take a step in faith. Like he's out there and they use the analogy of when the disciples were in the boat and the storm happens and Jesus is out there and he's saying, just come to me, just, who's coming out?
Yeah.
Who's coming here? And he's already there and he's reaching out his hand and he's just asking someone to go out there. And then when one of them does, finally, they fall, right? And he doesn't say like, oh, you're the worst person ever for coming out here and failing. He goes, why did you doubt me? Like, why did you doubt?
Yeah, so that's interesting because speaking of like comfort and uncomfort, like if you know that there is like one plan for you, right? And like you can see it, you're like, oh, I just got to take a step towards this one plan. Like that's so much more comfortable than taking a step going, I don't know what's going to happen. Like I don't know where I'm going to end up, right?
Yeah, totally.
Wow, that's cool.
And so like for me, not being a planning person, but then also fighting with that side of like, I need to do something with my life. Like my life needs a purpose. And so it made sense to me and it made me realize like, I just want to pursue Jesus. I just want to know God more. I want to know what he's doing in my life and in other people's lives. And so that whole thing transitioned into me going, okay, well, I'm working. I've got like all this great stuff going on for me, but I'm so just like, this is so weird. And God's calling me to pursue him. What does that look like on the next level?
Yeah.
And for me, thinking back to NNU and those times where I'd visited and I'd gone through that and I'd grown up in the church, I started to realize like maybe God is calling me to pursue him in an academic way. And in doing so, like trumping all of your fears of school and math and all this stuff, like he wasn't just calling me to like, just go a little ways. He was like, let's just blow the whole thing out of the water. And so I was like, okay, like let's do it. And so I enrolled. I hadn't been to school in almost 4 years. Didn't know anybody really that was was a part of NNU or really anything like that. And I was so scared. I was so afraid. And I remember just like the first semester just being like, what? Like, this is crazy. Like, I don't understand half of what's going on. I'm dog tired. And I remember sitting down like, God, is this what you want me to do? Like, is this really like, I just want to know you more. And I was sitting next to the theology building and I was waiting for a class and I saw on the little chapel, like the little chapel right next to the theology building on the thing. And it was that verse. It's like, don't be anxious about anything. And I remember just feeling that freedom and just like, I can do this. Like I can pursue God and I can do this. There might be some failures. There might be a lot of things I'm super uncomfortable with and super afraid of.
Yeah.
But God's saying you don't have to be afraid of, like there will be fear, there will be these things that happen in life, but you don't have to be anxious about it. You don't have to worry about it because I'm here. I'm not just at this future place and I'm asking you to meet me there. I'm already with you. You don't have to be anxious about that thing. You don't have to be afraid because I'm there and let's do it together. And that was the coolest thing for me. That was the thing that made me realize like my purpose is in God because he loves me and he's here for me and he wants me to be a part of other people's lives just like that. And so that was like, like crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But it took me going outside of my comfort zone and not just once, but twice and 3 times and 4 times and failing and succeeding. And still to this day, I'm like, okay, God, like, what do you want? What do you want from me? What does this day look like?
And now going forward into another semester where things are looking pretty weird already.
And if you would have told me like I'd be going to school at a time like this, probably one of the hardest times for students new students, old students.
Doesn't matter. It's hard.
To go to school for teachers, like what you think and you go, God, what are you calling us into? And yet I know that he's there every step of the way. Yeah. And that there will be amazing things that come of it.
Yeah. I'm calling you to be uncomfortable.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because when you're uncomfortable, then it's like you actually listen. Like think of how receptive you are when you're out of your comfort zone, when you're like, I actually don't have any solid footing here. Yeah. And you find that the thing that you're least equipped for like God's going to fill in all those gaps. And that's way
Right.
better than if you're actually equipped for something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think like we don't feel the need to pay attention when we think that we know everything that's
Exactly.
going on.
Yeah.
So like I think about
Yeah.
this is like the weirdest example, but I have a pair of pants that has a hole in the pocket. And I never think about the reality of having a pocket until I wear those pants where my finger slips right through the bottom.
Mm.
And I think that's true about life, that we never take time to reflect until things aren't the way we expect them to be. So we don't think to listen for God until we're
Yeah.
outside of our comfort zone sometimes.
Well,
Yes.
and it's easy to, like I was doing, to get caught up in what you're doing and think that that's all that there is, and it's fine. Like you
Absolutely.
can live your life and you can have those moments alone or by yourself or with friends, and you can have, like, God's not calling you to have like a bad time. Like it's not like, I think that was like one of those things too where I was like, well, if I follow God, like man, my life's just gonna be the worst.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna be able to live in a van, you know, and like that be my only, you know. If God's calling you to that, that's all. If that's out of your comfort zone, great. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like it looks different for every person, and like, but God doesn't call us to a life of ease. He doesn't. He's calling us, but He's not saying that I'm not going to equip you and that you're just going to fail all the time. He's saying like every time you go out, like I'm there with you, and you're learning and you're growing, and it becomes habitual. It becomes a practice,
Yeah.
and it becomes you have those moments where you go, okay, God, like I trust you. And I want to, like, I know you're walking with me, and I want to learn. I want to do this more. I want to do this better. I want to do this new thing, or even talk to this person that I've been afraid of talking with. And it's like it opens up a whole new world. And, you know, and I talk about that with adults. I talk about that with young, you know, teenagers. And it's crazy. It's awesome to hear people's stories about them realizing like God was calling me to do that scary thing, and I did it. And it, like, the things that it did afterwards were so rad.
My
Like
life
it was
is better for
so
it, yeah.
good for me to do that thing. And that's, to me, that's the Holy Spirit. To me, that's grace. To me, that's like,
That's
wow, like,
resurrection.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's transformation. It's God calling us to new and better things. And He's already there. Like He's there with us.
Yeah. He went before you.
Yeah.
Little Nazarene theology.
Oh, so if you could sum up your story in like one sentence or one phrase, what would you say?
I would say that God transforms us through discomfort, and he transforms us through calling us outside of our comfort zones. That's
Awesome.
what he's done in my life, continues to do, and continues to do everywhere in the world, you know.
Awesome. Well, Tree City, you heard it. Get uncomfortable. God can do amazing things when you get uncomfortable. And Morgan here is living proof of that. Morgan, thanks so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
thanks
Seriously.
for giving us your time.
Super rad.
And Tree City Church Youth, if you hear nothing else, hear this. You are loved by the people in this room. You're loved by our church staff, by your youth leaders. But more importantly, you are loved by God. Thanks so much for being here, and have a good week.